Okay, this is going to be the third episode of Middle Kingdom Minds. Me and Raz are back. We've got another guest. This time, it's not Clement. It's not the guy we have on every single LPL show ever in the history of the world to tell us all his thoughts. The best thing is, Raz, on all the old shows, all I ever used to be doing half the time as well was just asking Clement, like, Clement, when will all the AHQ and Flash Wolves players go to the LPL? And he'd be like, not yet, Thorin. Not yet. Not yet. And then eventually, believe it or not, it did happen, half of it. So, you know, I mean, the rest of them all retired. So I did have to wait half a decade. But if it happened in the end, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I'm just in the back of my mind always just imagining Clement concocting a plan to get all the LMS players in.
Of course,
find the back way into the LPL.
Okay, so our guest for this episode, let's introduce him, is, if you've seen the LPL and you're Chinese, which to be fair is not that much of our audience, you might know who it is. It's Teddy, commentator for the LPL. Someone who, here's the thing actually, Teddy, they might have overhyped this, but they even told me you know about Korean teams. So you're watching a lot of League of Legends, yeah?
Yep, I cast LCK2 in China. Yeah, I cast LCK2.
Ah, right. You do the Chinese broadcast, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the irony is,
does literally everything. Okay. The Chinese broadcast, flying from stadium to stadium, and then he still has to cast the LCK broadcast. It's insane, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, Teddy. Obviously, this episode, right? This show is about the LPL, and now that China won Worlds, like, you know, we're not even going to give credit to the LCK. Like that's the second best region for now, until they can, you know, prove otherwise and win the crown. But I will ask you this one question, because normally in the history of League of Legends, everyone in the West, you know, Europe, North America, they all think that Korea is not just the best, but like, you know, they're all the gods. Like everything they do is perfect and amazing.
Yeah, they're a machine, like something like that.
Yes, but I have to say, Teddy, if you've been watching LCK this season, as much as Korea is a strong region, that whole their famous quality about Korea was supposed to be that they were supposed to have the best macro game. I don't even think this year their macro's that good. If you look at some of the teams who are winning, like Dan1 Gaming and some of these teams, like they've got very strong players, but I think the LPL can match LCK. What do you think?
It's too early to compete these two sections now, but I think, in my opinion, LCK is still stronger. It's still strong this year, and Griffin is insane. Come on.
Yeah.
Sure.
Griffin is insane. But if you check out the data, it's really interesting because LCK got lowest KD of the whole world. They got the lowest KD except Griffin.
Yeah.
They fight less than everyone around the world. Yeah. And actually, I'm agree with you. They are not as good as they're not as good as 2015 and 14, but they are still good at their micro game to avoid early fight, and they only fight if they got something in target.
Okay. What do you think? If you had to compare then to the LPL, what is the LPL's general flavor like then in that sense?
Yeah, LPL fight more than LCK all the time. Yeah. I think LPL fight more, and we got more. Let's see. We have different meta. We have different meta with LCK, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, like literally the Renekton piece. Like for me, one champion that like differentiates a lot. It just comes down to like Renekton in the sense of how much is decided based off laning phase. Just because it's 2v2's mid, 2v2's top. You're almost expecting the junglers to be like in servitude to the laners. Like the funniest series to me was like OMG versus TOP, where it was legitimately just like rush to the mid lane or rush top side, because if a laner losing that one, like jungler stays there. He's actually just like turret plating goes down. So like I'm actually really surprised that LCK has just stayed to a slower pace. It is far more reliable, sure, and it's like if you make them, it's far more controllable, like something that you can take from scrims and put onto play and be a little bit more confident that, you know, nothing crazy will actually happen. And but the meta, everything about the meta on 9.1 just screams like fight, like screams lane phase strength. So I think LPL, not only was LPL just in the right setting and play style for Worlds, but also just like current patch is literally just like that and then some, like steroided. So it's kind of crazy that LCK is still kind of held on to that.
Yeah, and it's really crazy. They are still playing this game style in 9.2 patch 9.2. They already played patch 9.2 this week.
Yeah.
But nothing changes. Yeah, nothing changed. They still play their slow game, and they still trust the different champions like with LPL. And the game is really boring and early.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest like champion pool difference is between LCK and LPL? Like, what are they focusing on more in LPL?
Yeah, I think the most different champion pool is about some fighter top laner. LPL choose a lot of fighter top laner this season, like Raz said, Renekton, like something like that. But LCK is always sign a tank champion all the time. Okay. Maybe Jess is the exception, but they chose a lot of tank champion on the top laner.
Okay. Right, here's the thing, Raz. We can already start the episode with a fucking blockbuster, mate. Because for anyone who doesn't know, if you haven't been watching the LPL, hold on to your butts, because we've already had the first legit big upset, which is obviously Jingdong beating IG.
That was big.
And not only that, it's not even like for anyone who knows the Jingdong lineup, remember they are the one that have a bunch of different players, so they were even rotating in the jungler and the AD carry. So unfortunately, everyone who wants to see Levi and him play, well, they lost the first one, so they're probably not playing, unfortunately, because they got rescued by the others. So Raz, give me your initial thoughts. Of all the teams that were going to beat IG, I don't think Jingdong was exactly top of the list, right?
Yeah, I thought JD would take more time. I thought it was going to be basically after Chinese New Year's that the new players, specifically the junglers, would start to really settle in. I thought the first few series that JD had was like, it made a lot of sense. But then when it got to that series, like legitimately on that one where both Levi started very strongly, I thought that Levi's game, even in the loss, was like very impressive on his Olaf. And then when they switched him out for Flawless played even better. He was rotating around Yagao and playing topside really well around Zoom. And then like just that factor alone was impressive. But then Bavoy, for me, was the biggest hero because, like, even though it was just dictated by top lane, mid lane, and jungle, I was a big Bavoy doubter because I was seeing his play in the LDL, and then legitimately every time he would go into a promotional series, like, he would be the reason they lose. Like, he was legitimately, like, could not handle pressure as a player. And then they get to that series, game 3 comes in, and he was, like, doing super well in laning phase. Like, actually was this close to solo killing Jackie Levin. I think it was game 2, but then obviously like the roll around jungle gank comes through. I just love the fact that the players that I had doubted, jungle and AD carrier, just because of the position swaps, really performed well. And we got to see Yagao and specifically Zoom in team fights just go wild. So that one made me remember semifinals of JDG versus Invictus Gaming a little bit.
Yeah, they going straight to game 5 at last season's player off. And yeah, I have same opinion with Raz about BY and Flawless because just like Raz said, BY literally lost a lot of promotion game because of him. And he still struggled in Demacia Cup, if you still remember it at the beginning of the season. He really struggled in Demacia Cup. And Jingdong didn't get a good game in the Demacia Cup, and he get on at game 3, and he just smashed Jackie Love on the lane phase. And there's another reason I think IG lost to Jingdong is you can't give Ning a Karthus and let him farm all the time. Yeah, I think that's a big reason too. The champion select for Ning. Yep, Ning need to get an aggressive champion. He can control the early game. But if you look back at game 3, Jingdong control all the early game, and they got really good champion select for early and mid game, like Swain, Urgot. That's all really strong champion in early fight.
Yeah, the card at this point is really strong.
Yeah. And Jingdong just snowball over IG and get the win of best of three.
Because, like, remember, IG coming into the season played the same style they had at Worlds, where it was just like all 3 laners push up. Ning is like super annoying. The reason why Ning had like 4 MVPs in a row is simply because I think it was 5 MVPs in a row because he was like, it didn't matter what he played. He counterpicked jungle, and he would just constantly track enemy jungle and played like that tightrope style. Sometimes he would get like die, but Rookie was safe because he knew where the enemy jungler was. Top lane and bottom lane was playing as aggressively just because of the information Ning was providing him. And then in game 2, it was like, yeah, you know what? I'm on Karthus, boys. And don't worry. Like,
I'm going to farm all the early game.
Yeah. Karthus is broken in solo queue, but that does not fit this style. It does not fit Invictus gaming style.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Teddy, one of the things about trying to do this show where we talk about the LPL is a lot of Western fans only know the teams that go to Worlds. And so you always have to spend time trying to explain to them like who the really good players are, who they haven't seen at Worlds. And obviously this Jingdong team has a whole bunch of them actually that we can talk about. So one player that I feel like didn't start as well this split is Flawless, because I've been... He's one of those players where if I tell anyone who doesn't watch the LPL, like, oh, if you like watching carry junglers, watch this guy. Like, wait till he gets like a really aggressive champion, you're gonna love it. But then the first few games, they're watching like, well, what's happening? But he's arrived now. This is the Flawless from Rogue Warriors, right?
Yep. Talking about Flawless, he played at RW last year, and he, in my opinion, he is a really good Nedley player. And that's really special. He can play Nedley really well, and Flawless is always make you think he is really normal. You know what I mean? He is not that special all the time, but and he is strong at last year in Rogue Warrior, in my opinion, because I think they beat IG at Spring. At Spring, right?
Yeah, Spring third place match. You're right. That was actually
third place match. They beat IG, and at that game, Flawless is really good, and he is aggressive. He is aggressive, right? But in my opinion, he is more like he's a really balanced player. He can play all the style that the team want him to get, and he got a really large champion pool. I seen him play like Nedley, like Lee Sin, like Olaf. This early aggressive jungler, but I still remembered he played like Stronny, or even wait a sec,
Little Skunner, you know.
Yeah, he can play tank jungler too, and it's really. I mean, I know I know in Western audience, they never seen Flawless on world stage, right?
Sure.
Yeah, Flawless is never getting to world stage, but he will have a chance in this year in Jingdong, because Jingdong nearly make it to the world at last year.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, different lineup last year, but okay, Raz, let's talk about this topic then, because another thing about this series, which is going to seem very weird if you are someone who just watched Worlds and thinks, wow, IG's lost, like what happened? Like another factor is, obviously everyone raves about the top laners of IG, and if you look at this series, so again, another player who just doesn't have the name value is Zoom, because for people who don't know, this is someone who last year on Jingdong, people were like calling him one of the best tops in China, was getting very highly rated, and obviously the interesting thing about this series was they split time for IG between the Shy and Duke, and if you look at the way they did Game 3, like if you look at the draft for Game 3 and putting Duke in and like it looks as though they tried to play Game 3 really seriously and tried to win it. So what do you think of the top lane matchup here, Raz?
I think the only reason why we're seeing Duke as often is simply because it's really early on in the split. Whenever it comes to pressure situations and best of fives, like we still see some Duke, but most of the time it's majority the Shy. I'm actually very surprised that Duke came in Game 3 on this one. Put him on Sign, and they tried to actually play towards top side on that one too. Like early gang top actually got turned heavily in favor of Zoom. If that's the Shy, that would not have happened just based off how they played it, because they really just waited on Camille's second hook shot. So there was a lot of just mechanical aspects of Game 3 that I really doubt that the Shy would be able to play poorly. And if he was given the opportunity, because Game 1 was just dominated by the Shy. Like the Shy dominated it, Rookie went topside, like Ning went topside. When they lost, I didn't blame any of that was on the Shy at all. In fact, that was just purely jungle mid, simply because Yagao and Flawless just went on top of rookies Jace at all times. So like I was like going in game 3, I was like, okay, let's just go in and pick ban. It's all good. And then they made the roster swap to Duke, and I was like, oh, I don't even know. I don't agree with that. And that was the game where Zoom's Swain went off. And the biggest thing is, like, the Shy may be the best top laner in the world, but LPL has LPL does have the best top lane pool just among all these teams. And Zoom is like top 3. For me, it's the Shy, Zoom, and I have Xiao L over Zoom. But that's like a debate that me, Clement, and like I don't know what you think of what you think in Teddy, but I have Shao and then Zoom, and then if you just look across the board, it's like we have Jinu, 369, Ale now. Yeah, we just have a lot of people here, and it's insane. Changhong now, of course, Flandre, like top lane pool. Gimgoon, you're right, as you already said, like. The top lane pool in the LPL is insanity. And so it really is just dictated by top lane play. It wasn't surprising for me that in this series, so much pressure went topside, and game 3 was decided based off Zoom versus Duke.
Okay. Teddy, what do you think? Like I said, to Westerners, we think IG is supposed to have the best top laners in the world. So what do you think of the matchup here with Zoom?
To me, I'm really shocked with I'm really shocked. The same reason with Raz, they swapped the top laner IG at game 3 because in my opinion, there's like a mini best of 3 top laner fighting between Zoom and the Shy, and each guy got 1 win.
Sure.
And suddenly they change up Duke, and Zoom is a really good player. And one thing about him is he because I communicate a lot with Zoom last year. We have a chance to get out together, and I talked to this guy, and he is really looking to get to world stage, get to world championship. And I think he is the best Gangplank player in LPL. In my opinion, yeah, he is the best Gangplank, and he has a really large champion pool, and I think he beat Duke at that game 3 with his Swain.
Yeah.
And I think he is the guy, he's the only top laner that will still pick Swain in this pouch. I think he got the best top laner of the LPL last year. There's an award for him.
Yes.
Yeah, an award. You're right.
You're right.
Yeah. There's a award for him. So just want the audience in Western know, except the Shy, we still got like Zoom, like just a lot of good top laner in LPL.
Yeah, and I think he's just that close to being able to get a shot at Worlds, right? Because like for me, if we're just talking about top 3 teams in the LPL, who's going to make it? Like IG, a lot of people are expecting the same thing. I know it's super early, but then if we're just talking about who rounds out the bottom half, is like people are expecting RNG, and then it's a battle between, once again, Sitting, JD, we have one more team,
TOP,
FPS, TOP. Yeah. It's actually insane. Because last time around, we were like, JD didn't get to make it. That's crazy. Yeah. And now, like, you have essentially 3 teams, and that's not even adding EDG, who will get better. That is just like, they'll get better, man. They get better. It's good enough, who knows, man. But they always surprise me. I didn't think like last year's spring split they'd be able to make it to the finals. If somehow they just overperform. Summer split too. You're like, they cannot beat JD, and then they find a way.
They still got cleared up on bench.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right, before we move on, like normally when it's just a one-off match, I wouldn't go like through all the lanes, all the players, etc. But I've got to ask about this, right? So obviously the biggest shock to most people is a player we've already talked about before is Yagao, and along with Knight, they're like the big players that people are expecting to like inherit the throne in China and be extremely good. But what do you think about this particular aspect? Because remember, people don't just say Rookie's the best player in the LPL. He's supposed to be the best player in the world. So what's going on, Raz? I mean, for a start off, why is the best player in the world on fucking Galio in Game 3? Like,
yeah.
This looks like a Korean LCK comp, that Game 3 comp. Look what they picked.
To be fair, what's rough right now is like the meta is super much like right now, mid laners are just kind of restricted on being on Lissandra Galio because it's just that strong. So like compositionally, if you're, it doesn't matter if you have a superstar in your mid lane, you got to come down to the hard decision of like, are we giving away this like broken composition? It's like, is this the decision we're making right now? So like, I agree when it comes down to it, they're probably going to start moving away from putting their best on that one. But it's hard. I think that IG is a team, and they've shown this in Rift Rivals. They have so much faith in their adjacent lanes, like bottom lane, Jackie Love, who showed up huge at Worlds, and top lane, the Shy, and even Duke, who will come out big, that they will put Rookie on something more supportive to get them ahead, because it's not like 2016 where it's just a one-man show and you just hope that Rookie carries the team. But I want to see what happens when the meta starts to push, because we're starting to see a lot more Rise picks now. And the meta, I think, in 9.2.3, a little bit more is going to favor Rookie's champion pool, just so we have like more mages, a lot less damage on the field. So you're going to be seeing like tank jungles and top lane. So that just makes it so like basically the dual carries of Jackie Love and Rookie will be that much more important. That's what I'm looking out for. But in that series, when it went on to Galio's, you're like, all right, let's just hope that basically the side lane's going to do it. And wasn't the case. Actually, that was just such a doomed game too, because once Swain got his advantage top lane and they constantly play towards dragon fights, like Jackie Loves is not walking up as a mid-range AD carry up to a Swain that's just like has full soul fragments. It made people realize how strong Swain still was.
Okay. Teddy, can you tell us about Yagao?
In my, like, I remember like Yagao picked Urgot versus Galio, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Urgot. Because the mid lane Urgot, I think in patch 9.1, mid lane Urgot is a really good pick for versus Galio. Because that's an AD champion that can counter Galio on the lane phase. And he can push lane as fast as Galio at early game. So, just like Raz said, Rookie is like a lot of support champion starting from last year. Cause I remember there's an interview after World Championship asking Rookie why you pick a lot of Galio, Lissandra in this patch, and Rookie answered like, I got a really strong teammate. I got a really strong teammate like Jackie Love, like the Shy, and I can support him to get the win, get the W. But in that game versus Yingdong, I think firstly, Yagao beat Rookie on the lane phase because of the champion counter. And secondly, no matter top lane and bottom lane are all controlled by Jingdong, and Rookie can't really do anything with a Galio pick. So I'm looking forward for more assassin pick for Rookie, like LeBlanc, like in the after game after the Chinese New Year. I'm looking forward for more assassin pick.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm really expect that they can change pouch to more aggressive mid laner, because just like Raz said, it's two-piece in the mid laner now.
Yeah, and on that composition, it was really just like all about how they play through Ning on that one, just to see whatever engage they were able to get to allow like Jackie Love and even the Galio to really push forward. And in the like that one dragon fight that I was referring to, it was like basically an engage that Ning had on towards like Rakan that they didn't even kill the support on that one. So if you're even trying to like go on top of the support, like Swain says, what the hell? Like that was like, for me, that was one major, like a crucial mistake that Ning made and doesn't normally make. So that just for me, I was like, okay, like IG, they've been messing around a few in the previous series. Like the previous series that they had was not the same IG that we saw at Worlds. And so I think it's a good boost to them to really push, like practice through Chinese New Year's. Because at this moment, I think best team in the world is Griffin, like bar none. Sure. And I think like if we're doing LCK versus LPL, I don't ever think it's about regional, like which region is better, because at this point I would say it's Griffin and then it's IG, and then I would probably put in a few more LPL teams underneath them. I'd say FPX and JD are getting better and better on that front, so I'd put them just underneath. That being said, like IG really needs to get it together, because even with the compositions that are, you know, putting supported picks on Rookie isn't necessarily playing well, because even after, like before that series, when they went up against Rogue Warriors, that was like the messiest series I've ever seen. Like that was some rough stuff, and Rookie made like one crucial mistake on bottom lane tower dive. So like I think that they're just real, like the series that they're playing right now aren't as competitive, and this was like the most competitive series they've had. So finally they're getting pushed. That's what I'm happy about.
Yeah, but it's a really special thing in LPL because we got Chinese New Year between the spring. So every team got like 10 days off. Sure. Yeah, so maybe IG should pull up together in these 10 days.
Hey Teddy, actually, I never actually had eyes on this. Do they? Do teams practice still? Like, do some teams want to practice through Chinese New Year's?
They will give player like 3 day or 5 day off, and they will practice after they come back. But
okay, makes sense.
But I know some player they don't want to go back to home. They still stay in Shanghai, stay with their team, and still practice during the whole vacation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so actually it was on the very last episode we did, Raz, where we explained to people who FPX is. Fun plus Phoenix. It's the Doinby team. It's a team where they're funnily enough, a bit like Rogue Warriors last year. They've got like a limited size of team. They're not running like a mad 10-man roster in this scenario. And the timing's perfect because they did win this game against Suning. Although I will add in the caveat that Suning, bizarrely, for the first 2 games, played the sub mid laner, not Maple. But even so, the rest of the team was there. What do you make of this result?
So for this one, just so people even know why this happened, for the sub, like Method, the Suning manager, put on Weibo that Maple was ill. He was super sick. Like, he came in game 3
porn style.
But like he went in, came like full Urgot. The guy had his mask ready, just like coughing it up. I was like, my goodness, this reminded me, as you already mentioned, Pon when he was booked.
Like
WWE style. Like, I'm gonna get out there.
We're about to lose. Put out everybody. Empty the locker room. Like, it's insane. But yeah, the series itself, I am super impressed about FPX. Just how more utilized Gimgoon is, because like Gimgoon in previous teams and iterations of FPX, like he was super useless in the sense that like he would do okay, and like there was 2 phases of him. He was either a super lane dominant, he was picking for lane, and then he was trying to hard carry and split push, and then they realized like that wasn't working because like the opposite side of the map was just falling, and then he would just play like Vladimir and anything. Like basically every losing matchup he would go like behind 15 CS in laning phase, and then he would try to like outplay in team fights, and he would do well. But like basically it was like Gimgoon isolated in this far island trying to help out in any way possible, but he was never connected to the team, and they had like the most impulsive team. Bring in Doinby and I guess Coach Warhorse from Flash Wolves, and now this team is the most communicative. Like they actually just rotate to Gimgoon so frequently. I think Doinby, he has that, I would say he's very much like, he brings the rookie factor of just being able to communicate in Chinese and Korean. So like being able to get the players on the same page is not an issue. And that one is what surprised me the most. I didn't have FPX coming at first place at all. I had them as like a mid-tier team still, because I thought they would still have the problems that like Rogue Warriors at the end of the split year would have, where like vision control would still be a big issue. They were great fighters and brawlers, but like coordination wise, like teams like Suning would be able to put them down, but that was not the case at all.
Okay. Teddy, even though Fun plus Phoenix has played 1 less game than some other teams, they're top of the league. They're 4-0. Tell us about this team, because a lot of people, you know, wouldn't expect this to be a team challenging for the top.
I just want you guys to know that player in Fun plus Phoenix, they are all play pro for a long time, just like Jimgo. I cast LSPL at 2015 at the spring season 2015. That's LSPL, the secondary league, and at that time Jimgo was playing LSPL at that time.
Right.
Yeah, and he got promoted by 2015, and then he played in LPL his first game in 2016, and he played in LPL all the time with different teams like GT, like FunPlus.
Pacemakers a little bit, I think too.
Yep, and but Jim Gong is always stable. He is a really, really good top laner with a large champion pool, and you can count him in every style champion he pick. And FunPlus' best trade, they make the best trade is they got Dwinby this year. Because I think everyone knows Dwinby, even he never made to the Worlds.
Yeah.
But everyone knows Dwinby because he is really emotional. I think you guys already know that after Rift Rival 2018, he's a really emotional player, and he's a really funny player in China, and he learned Chinese really fast. So he got a lot of fans in China, and he is really good because he come up and down in Premier League and Second League, up and down like 2 times, I think, with QG. So they got Dwinby this year, and because I think the real problem with FunPlus last season is they never get a really good main laner who is old, I think. Yeah, it's not as good as 2013, and Abing is not even a good pro player. Is that too straight? Is that too straight? Sorry.
No, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. That's what it is.
Nah, like, no offense, but you know, Raz, you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Not even a good pro player.
Yeah, he was getting consistently behind. Yeah.
Yeah, he got some really crazy mistake doing in the game.
Yeah.
So this year, and I always think FunPlus got a really good bottom laner, that Crisp and LWX, Lin Weixiang, LWX and Crisp. They are starting play with each other. They start playing with each other at 2016, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, when they were on Tanchi-sa, right?
Yeah, they are Tanchi-sa. Yeah, they starting at that time, and they are always bound together. So that's a really good bottom lane. Because in my opinion, there's a really important thing about the bottom lane is you need to play long enough, just like Prey and Gorilla, Mata and Imp during 2014. You need to play long enough to get well known about your AD carry or your support, and you got good chemical on the match. So FunPlus is except the main laner, FunPlus is good last year, but not that good. I remember they lost their first round of player off, but at this year they got Dwinby, and that's a really, really good trade for them. And I think they are ready for more win, and I think they have a chance to go to the world stage.
Okay.
Yeah, like right now to that point, like Tanchi, LWX and Crisp are the longest standing bottom lane. They have to be. Like you already mentioned, Prey and Gorilla, they broke up. Bang and Wolf, they broke up. Zen and Mithy, like long gone. By this point, people don't recognize that if we're just talking about pre-existing synergies, not only is FPX played together except for jungle and mid, but the bottom lane has been together forever, for a long time since they were in Tanchi-sa in 2016.
Yeah,
so,
and
go on.
Yeah, you go on.
Okay, so like they just have like the 3 players that are like the mainstay. Their coach has been a big buff. I wasn't really a big sell. I didn't think the coaching staff would mean too much because when BSYY was on the staff, like they got better, but not significantly better. Like because my issue has always been like, yeah, the play style would be good enough for the first 15 minutes. I don't question their ability to play the game. Their laning phase is excellent. But then they get into the team fights, and then like something would happen. LWX would flash in and die or something. Like he was just, we call him the shotgun for a reason. Like the guy was always looking for a flashy play. And this time around, it feels like based off of the in-game leadership, they are much more calm. The fact that that game against Suning took that long in the last game and they were able to just play it slowly, old FPX would have flashed in and died like 30 minutes into that one. That's what's crazy to me, is that when they were faced with like a long game and they could have just ended it with one cheap play, they didn't go for it. They just waited until Elder Dragon to try and basically inch it out.
And there's another thing is I think SMLZ is not good at Cassiopeia. He is not good as Cassiopeia. He's really good at traditional shooter. He's really good at traditional AD, but not mage. But they can't afford to give Cassiopeia out to let other team pick it, so they pick it at the first pick. But SMLZ didn't play it well. Not as well as the greatest Cassiopeia.
I also think that they didn't know how to play around the Cassio when, you have your least vocal player picking the Cassiopeia, because Cassiopeia really relies on you being able to play around those neutral objectives.
Yep.
And they were oftentimes not doing that. They were trying to like push for towers or something. And then most of the time it was actually FPX being able to push them off of these objectives. So I was like, well, if it was on, and this is the major handicap. They didn't have the mainstay mid laner of Maple with who had all of the experience. If he had the Cassiopeia, and also if he wasn't sick, that's what's going to be, people are going to be talking about a lot. Then this wouldn't be an issue.
But Angel played good at first and second game. It's okay.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's one thing more I thought about FunPlus, about Doinb join into FunPlus. There's one thing really you need to know about Doinb is we got a show in China. We got a show in LPL called Mic Check. It's about player. What do they say during the game? What are they communicate during the game? And every episode of FunPlus or of Rogue Warrior last year, you can hear Doinb. His in-game commander is really, really good.
Okay.
Yeah, his in-game command is really good, and he can encourage his teammate to play together, to focus in the game. And I think that's really important in a pro team. You need someone like that. You need someone like a captain, or you need someone to command you, and you need someone to put everybody together in one goal. And Doinb has done that really good. All the time, every team Doinb was in, he is the commander, and he was doing it really well.
Funny enough, as a small tidbit, that morning before the game, I was watching a Doinb stream, and he was literally playing Urgot. He was super far behind. He had done the same thing where he's just spamming flashes, timers essentially.
Yeah. He's really crazy about type in flash CD or summoner spell CD. He was crazy to type. He type in this information all the time, even during the scrim, even during the solo rank. That's really crazy.
That's how you become the king of team fighting, mate.
Yeah.
You gotta know when those timers end, right? And that's how we go in. What about this then? So Raz, how long can it last? Is FPX actually going to challenge for the title? Do you believe?
I didn't believe in them initially. I still don't believe them right now. I think they will go farther than they did in the past. That is literally where I will stand, because where they went in the past was simply first round of playoffs they fell. I think they have the potential to get into semifinals, but when the question is, can they take down RNG? Can they take down IG? That's not the case for me. We still haven't seen RNG, to be fair, so we need to see how Amazing J works with the new squad. But I still have the faith that the structure that RNG has will remain the same, and Amazing J will fulfill the role that Let Me has. Regardless of how effective or not it is, Shahu and Uzi are mainstay. We already saw how well Shahu and Karsa played even in their losses. So I have complete faith that RNG will still be better. So for me, what makes the difference, because FPX have all the talented players, now they have an in-game leader. The issue is FPX's issues last time around was also in terms of playing it slowly and vision control. They actually proved to me they can play it slowly, but the vision control is still something that was still not addressed. And then Doinb's previous teams and Rogue Warriors, Shagu Reapers, oftentimes they look to start fights before they layer down or condition the enemy team or go on. So one major question as I have is when they go up against big brutish teams. Let's say even EDG, if they tend to get better. I'm not saying EDG is going to get better than them just because they have the same impulsive nature in a lot of their players. But a lot of these major organizations with huge staffing, specifically, let's go through it. IG, Suning right now, RNG, and I'll say TOP just because I think that they're getting much better around that. they will be able to take them in longer games. But right now, I'll say they'll go to semifinals, and they'll be much more competitive than they were last year.
What do you think, Teddy? Could FPX be an LPL champion?
I think there's one thing that we need to make sure, because player in FunPlus except Doinb didn't have more experience in best of 5. Yes. But every player of game is best of 5, and yes, everybody was talking about best of 5 is a different game with best of 3. Mm-hmm. It's really different, no matter in the ban and pick in game, or what we'll do after when you lost the first game or when you win the first game. And I think there's only Doinb have one best of 5 in this FunPlus. Other 4 players, they never win best of 5 in LPL. Yes. LWX and Cresp have won best of 5 in secondary league, but not in LPL.
Right. So
that will be a huge challenge for them, because other team like EDG, like RNG, like IG, no matter what shape are they in, but they have a lot of experience in best of 5 in this type of game. And I think there's a really big difference between player off and the normal game.
Sure.
So let's looking forward if they can make into player off and beat some team and win some best of 5. And if they can win their first best of 5, I think they can get much further than last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we move on, let me ask you about the Sunning team, because this is another team where the roster is what excited me, because I have watched for many years the Flash Wolves team, and every time Flash Wolves was playing international tournaments, it's like, yeah, you know, I'm looking at the team like, hey, this Carcer guy's pretty good, Maple can be pretty sick, Sword Art obviously looked amazing, but I always used to look and say, well, with this AD carrying this top lane, like, you're not going to win Worlds, you're not going to do a big deep finish. Now in Sunning, they've got, you know, on paper, this looks like a really good lineup, but can Sunning be a team that can be a champion? Do you think this potential is there?
For me, this question?
Yeah.
Not right now. Not in this season, I think. Because there's 2 things really important. The first one is LMS and LPL got really different gameplay. I don't think you can change that fast, even you are Swords Art, even you are Maple.
Okay. What do you think the differences are between the 2 leagues?
First off, Flash Wolves are the king of LMS, right?
Yes.
Nobody can get really damage to them. Nobody is a threat for them, because they always win the LMS. But LPL, we have more team, we have more compassion, we have more good player. We have more pressure, I think. Yeah, that's the red thing I want to talk about. We have more pressure. So will they still good under this pressure? And there's still some pressure. There's still some pressure, except in the game, because you know they don't live in Shanghai last year. They don't live in Shanghai during their entire life about Swords Art, about Maple, and they need to move to Shanghai this year, and they need to get rid of everything except the game, except during the Rift. So that's a big challenge too, because they are still really young guy, right?
Yes.
Yes, and the second thing I want talking about is I don't think they will. The reason why I don't think they can get champion this season is just like Raz said earlier. We still got really, really strong team in LPL, like IG, like RNG, even like Jingdong this year. And I just don't think Suning can beat them during one season. It's a long way for Suning. Yep.
So I was kind of impressed with how they performed versus FPX, because I know the whole big story is that FPX was undefeated, but like the fact that I already mentioned, like Maple was sick as hell, because even when he came in game 3, he was making some poor decisions because obviously he wasn't focused on the game. And then on top of that, Wei came in, and although he came in with an MVP performance, and I thought that should have gone to Sword Art, because Sword Art really, not only did Sword Art and SMLZ have a strong laning phase, but he really took command of bot side river, brought in Weiwei, and Angel was playing towards him quite a bit. So the big story for me was the fact that Sword Art was able to really control the bot side of the map, rotate top side, and the strategy still remained even without like Hacker and Maple, and that's huge. So how I feel about Suning, I think they can, at least they'll make it to a finals. I think it's going to be that big because the fact that they have Sword Art, and you're right about like competition not being there in the LMS, but at least they had the experience of going to MSI and Worlds, and even though then they kind of crumpled, at MSI they did well. Even with the challenges of not having an AD carry, like Betty, people be the defenders of Betty, but like when you're up against the best in the world, and oftentimes, of course, you're not going to take down like Uzi or Reckless in that instance, though he's fallen right now. Now they have SMLZ, who is I'll call him the second best AD carry in China right now. And their team fights are being cleaned up simply because they layer it well enough for SMLZ to go front to back. So like, they remind me of the Boston Celtics in the way that not only are they a super team, but it really feels like they've been structured well to succeed from early game, mid game, and late game. I didn't think that was true for Rogue Warriors, because in Rogue Warriors, it was just flawless in the early game. And so like in Spring Split, they really had to struggle because it was just flawless, like 1v9ing early till they can get to the late game portions of the, and like have the scaling factors of like DoMB and SMLZ come through. I think Hacker and Xiao Al are huge for that. And then Sword Art's being able to bring in just the mental aspect, the strategy. So I think they'll get to finals. Will they win? I mean, I still think IG is going to dominate. Like, that's how hard it's going to be for them. So, like, can they win a championship? No. But anything could happen. I just say IG should still play the same they've had in the past.
Okay.
There's one thing more I want to talk about Suning is, Hiker is a really aggressive early game jungler, but Maple likes to farm a lot. Like really a lot. So these two players, the mid laner and the jungler, they need to get used with each other, and that's the problem because they have really different play style. So that's why we can see Vivi get up on the stage for Hacker this recent game, because Hacker and Maple have really different play style. So they need to cooperate and they need to really get used to each other. And if they can do that, I think Suning can be more good, and they can looking forward.
Okay. Right, Teddy, a team I want to talk about now is another team where it's funny, the LPL has this theme at the moment where there are all these different teams that people who only watch Worlds won't know, but this team is one that a lot of people are excited about, which is Top Sports. And obviously the player I want to ask you about is Knight, the mid laner, because even though these last couple of weeks, they haven't been playing the best opponents, still this guy is looking like a potential MVP player. So tell me about the mid laner Knight.
Knight, this guy is insane. This guy, Knight was play at Suning at last year, or the year before last year. He was his first station of pro play is Suning, and I always talk with Suning CEO. And he told me Knight is just like a baby faker,
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, he's
name.
Really, that is just like a baby faker. Yeah, he's really good. He's really good at that age. And if you check out the Korean servers, solo queue, Knight is always in the top 10, and Knight always can get top 1 during the season.
Yeah,
he can make. I think he is the only LPL player make that more top 1 during the last season. And the most scary thing is if you check out Knight's gameplay, he played like 10 or 20 different mid lane champion during the solo queue. That's pretty insane, and that is what he is doing now in the game, because he picked up so many champions that you can't imagine. He can play all the game style. he play Akali, he can play Zoe, he can play Aurelia, and he can play Corki Dispatch. So I think nowadays there's only one issue for Knights. That is, I don't think he is really compete with this top. I don't think he is get into this top really well. So give him some time and give top sport some time. I think they will shock us. And different with Rise, I think top spots will make LPL final this season.
Ooh, there we go. There we go.
That's a big prediction. Instead of
no, you and Clement are against me.
Teddy, who will be joining them? It will be top versus who?
Top versus IG or top versus RNG.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's bold.
I feel like I'm the TOP hater. I am so high on Knight as a player, but every single time the subject goes on TOP, I always like initially when it was Demacia Cup, and then even in some of the first few series, I was worried about how young the players were, because like experience for me really matters a lot in being able to slow the pace of the game down. And I felt like when they get to the later portions, they've surprised me in the sense that they do have, like, they speed up the pace of the game. The teleport players with the 369 is really hyped. So I feel like he understands how to play the later portions of the games correctly. Yeah. My only worry is when it slows down and slower in the later patches, and you have, like, you know, the game's going to be dictated by like vision control around Baron buff. I feel like I saw some instances where it reminds me of Suning in Spring Split 2018, where it's just like they have a great early game with Hacker and Knight, but then the issues arise for like, how do we play out the Baron? Like they just prolong it for way too long. So like that's my worry with TOP. But like they can solve that. I'm like they're just getting better and better. So like I think you're right in the sense that the highlight teams to see who gets the finals for me is like Suning, RNG, and TOP, but the reason why I give it to Suning is because they just have like experience like almost across the board. The fact they have like mid lane and their dual lane with so much wealth of experience, I would even give it to Xiao Al, Hacker at this point, Maple of having more experience above TOP. TOP, I call them the young devils because they're just so talented, but so young.
Yeah, and there's one thing you need to know about TOP is the head coach of TOP is a really good player in Season 1 LPL. He is a really good jungler, and he is a good friend of mine. And he is a caster during the Season 2 LPL, and he is a coach now, and he is a really good coach. Yeah.
Yeah. BSYY is insane. Does he go by Crescent now? Because I remember his Weibo says Crescent, but I don't know the difference.
Yeah, I don't really know the difference with it, but he is really good. BSYY is really good. Yeah,
he's insane. I think like
really, he is the only guy that win what do you call that match that if you win you get into LPL promotion match. Yeah. He is the only coach that won promotion best of 5 in the whole history of LPL. Because we don't have promotion now. So he is the only guy that won promotion. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, the Dan Gaming incident.
The Dan Gaming, they beat Wiki. And that's the only guy, that's the only coach who can beat an LPL team when he was in LSPL.
Yes. That was huge, by the way.
That was huge.
I did not
For anyone who doesn't know, it was famous that like a bit like NALCS, it was rare that people actually like got into the NALCS. Same with LPL. It's pretty hard to win those promotion matches.
Yeah, because nobody won promotion match before Dan. Yeah. Everybody get beaten by the LPL team. Even they are the most they lost a lot of game in LPL, but they can still beat LSPL. Just like your big brother beat you every time. Yes. Yeah, just like you are still in primary school and your big brother are going to college and he can beat you every summer.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, but Dan made it. BSYY and his team made it. That's really huge. So I think he's good.
I think the best coaching staff right now in the LPL is like Coach Ohm and BSYY. Like both of them are super strong. I would give it to Nofe too, but he moved on. But like that, the reason why JD are so strong, not just because of the players, because Coach Ohm backs them, and then the reason why TOP are like 100% of the players are great. But the fact they have BSYY,
but they work together. The coach and player work together to make the team greater.
Yeah. I wonder now, my big question is, because I back Suning quite a bit, I wonder how effective Easy Hoon and Comet are for the lineup. Like that's probably the biggest mystery, because Easy Hoon moving away, no one really talked about that one, because like he slowly phased away from like playing the game to now coaching. Like Easy Hoon is so well known for being a smart, methodical player, but then now moving with the greatest like drafting team at the time for a Freak of Freaks coach Comet. Like effectively, this should work really well for the team, but it really just depends on how well they know the players and work with the players, because both of them, like, they have zero history with these players. Meanwhile, like Coach Ohm has been with JD for so long, just like last year, and then for the same could be said with BSYY. He's been with the organization for so long. There's a lot of comfort there, and he's working with a lot of these players. So it's pretty intense that they have the head start, basically.
Yeah, and there's one thing important is the player in top respect BSYY. That's really important. You need to respect your head coach, that you can play with him, you can cooperate with him, and then you can play better during the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, Raz, another team. I tell you what, we didn't know it, but last episode, fucking hell, it's like we're throwing alley-oops to ourselves, mate. We set this episode up so well, because what was one of the other predominant topics on last week's episode, right? It was like, WE should be better than they are, right?
Oh, no.
And they did it. Hey, they beat EDG.
Yeah, they did it.
They did it. So what happened? Is WE back?
I'll say, okay, if it's back to what was 2017, then I'm going to be like, no, hell no.
Okay.
Not at all. It's going to be a hard road. But like, this is what we should be seeing. Like, WE should not be a bottom 5 team. Never should they be a bottom 5 team. The only reason they were a bottom 5 team, because of like, you know, the dramas that happen around with the team, and in particular losing Coach Ohm. And why the hell did they ever sub out Mystic? Like subbing out Mystic and CA should never be done. Only if the man wants to take a vacation, or if he's an injury like Uzi. But if they are able to play, if they are in the house, they better be on the stage. I think like the fact that they had such a young, like basically an inexperienced coaching staff, just based off of the fact that they lost Coach Ohm and bringing in Wei Xiao. Wei Xiao is an amazing player, like historic. Sure. But like this is his first time being able to be a head coach for the team, so that's really important to recognize. And on top of that, like they have an issue of just being able to keep the synergy that they had with this team. There was no reason to be pushing those two players, because they are like CA in 2018 spring was the second best mid laner next to Rookie. He was performing that well. And then Mystic is also a superstar. So thank God they're playing them. Like that's the only reason why they weren't picking up wins, in my opinion.
Okay. What do you think, Teddy?
First thing, I think when WE beat EDG, EDG played really bad during that best of 3.
They did, yeah.
They played really, really bad if you ever watched that game. And the second thing is, I'm really confused with the ban and picks they make, because they gave Ray a rise at game 1. Yeah. Right? They gave Ray a rise. They gave Scott Urgat at game 1. I think they need to swap their champion with the top laner and mid laner. If they swap champion, that's much better, because in recent game, Scott is the one who carries EDG on his shoulder. Every game EDG win, Scott going legendary.
Yeah.
And every time EDG lost, Ray was punished by his lane phase, punished by his options, punished by other team's jungler. So I don't think Ray was in good shape right now, but Scott definitely is the carrier of this team. So why do you give your carrier Urgat? That's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you could literally, as you already mentioned, swap those champions, and it's a great matchup anyways. Like, literally, Rise into Galio is great. So, like, it made no sense.
Yeah, it's just the way he describes it there. It's like they actually have an anti-flex team. They can't even flex the real champions into the right lanes.
Yeah, and why you give Ray a Vladimir at second game? That's really insane, because Ray can't play carrier champion during this stage, I think. Ray is really good back to Worlds. I think Ray is really good back to World, but not this spring. is not that good for carrier champion. You need to give your carrier champion to your mid laner. And in other side for WE, just like Rai said, they always got a really good carrier player like Xie, like Mystic. These two carrier play together for a really long time too.
Sure.
And yeah. And Mystic is really insane at that best of 3. But there's still a really important problem for WE is their jungler are. I'm really confused what are Magic play, what are Magic play for the game all the time. Yeah, I'm really confused for Magic's selection during the game. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest problem of WE now. They get rid of Kandi before this season, but they only have Magic to get on the stage. But Magic is not a really good jungler right now, so that's a problem they need to solve because they still got really good double carriers, but you need your jungler be together with them. Then you can make a good team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will WE be in the playoffs?
No. Nope. They won't.
Like,
This year's playoff is really different because each team play with other team once a season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really different because 16 game and the first 8 going to playoff, and it's really hard for WE. I don't think WE will get in first 8.
Yeah, just so people know, the fact that WE was in the Western Conference last year was the only reason they were in contention for playoffs. Literally the only reason. The Western Conference was very weak at that point because it was them. Yeah. It was between them and FPX at the time were still had a hole in the mid lane. While in the Eastern Conference, there was a battle between like Suning, JD, like RNG, IG. It was insane to even be on the the top 4 of that Western Conference. Now everyone is in one group. WE has no way to be able to make it to playoffs unless if they make massive adjustments. And the big thing about you're right. Yeah, and the jungle point, the identity of WE in 2017 was their jungle because while these players were doing so well, CA played they played to Kandi's pathing. Kandi a lot of the times was super focused on invades rather than trying to help gank his laners. And they lost that. They lost their identity, and the laners are now the primary focus, and Magic is just being pulled around lanes. So yeah, he needs more experience on the Rift, and at the same time, they just need to adjust the way they play the game. That's a major instance. And to your point about EDG, yeah, they played that one poorly. It was actually you can actually play the Benny Hill music, and I think it was in game 2. Where just laners died on random points of the map. Ray getting caught out because he was trying to rotate to mid through river, and he just got ganked on that one. While the one time Mako left lane is when they rolled down through iBoy, and you're like, how are you? These solo kills should never be happening, but it literally was just missing, and Mystic saying, okay, well he's playing too far up because they're not willing to give away pressure in lanes when people are rotating for vision. So these are just basic mistakes being made, but WE had great enough players to take advantage of it.
Okay, along these... Yeah, go on then. Go on, Teddy.
I really miss 957. Hope he can get up there after Chinese New Year. Yeah, I really miss him. He is a really good player. There's one thing that I remember in last year, the year before last year, 2017, we are going to work... We're going to somewhere else in China, like Xi'an. Oh, Xi'an, yeah, it's Xi'an. I'm going to Xi'an with 957, and after we get off the airplane on the way to the hotel, and 957 was watching LCK replays on his cell phone.
Fair enough.
And that really moves me because he is the only pro player that watch the game all the time, you know. Because when you get off the airplane, you feel really tired. You want to get some rest or get a nap on the way back to hotel. But 957 just watched the replays of other region on his cell phone. Yeah, that really impressed me.
Okay.
Yeah, he always has the heart in the game, and in 2017, a lot of times people refer to him as the best top laner simply because he played as a role player. So I didn't understand why they're moving away from him. I guess WE just wants like carry players and across the map. So.
Maybe he is not playing really well at their training game. Maybe he's not good at training match. And there's another thing about 957 is his age. You know, I think he is born in 1992, and he is way older than the young players nowadays.
Truth. You know what? That wouldn't be a bad thing to be able to actually lead them, but
it says he's 25, 1993, so still pretty old for a pro player.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, here's the question I have, about EDG, and it goes like this, Raz. Is anyone who saw, well, you know, this team made playoffs of Worlds, you know, they had a few games where iBuy popped off, obviously Scout actually impressed a lot of people who don't know him that well outside of China. This feels like that ain't gonna, there's no chance of that this year. Like, I mean, we were just talking about WE, like, not even gonna creep into playoffs. EDG right now looks like they will be in the first round of the playoffs, and then that will be the end. Like, what hope can you hold out for this team? I mean, the problem is as well, they've also been passed up by all these new squads, haven't they? So it looks like they're in a bad spot, because at the moment the scary thing is with the players they have, I'm sure they're going to keep most of the players, but they're kind of in, like, I always call this no man's land. If you follow like the NBA, the worst team to be is the team that always makes the first 2 rounds and then never makes it further, but even worse, never like goes so badly that you break the whole team up. Like, I mean, like, if you go back far enough, there's plenty of classic teams you can pick to give that example to. You know, what do you think of the current EDG?
It reminds me of, like, there's a lot of shows I watch, and you go into season 2 and you always questions like, what happened to all that development, the character development, you know, someone learning all the lessons of, you know what, this is my position in life, I just got to accept it. And then they, you know, reset all that stuff. Suddenly all of it, like, if you just look at the match history, if you just go through all the, like, the champions that Ray's played at Worlds and everything, the reason, or especially during regional gauntlet, he recognized that he needed to play tanks, role players, play weak side of the map. Like, even if he plays a bruiser that's in the meta, that he has to recognize that he's absorbing pressure rather than trying to apply pressure. But then all of a sudden, the beginning of the split, all of that's changed. He's trying to apply pressure when Haru is not there. I was like, what happened there? Like, what lesson did we miss is my bigger issue, is that, like, coming into the split, EDG as a team are trying to apply pressure in all parts of the map, when in reality they should be going straight mid and then later on in the bottom lane, what they've always done in history. And so I just feel like a lot of it can be probably applied to the fact that they've changed coaching staff from No Fate to Heart, but also the break coming in makes it so a lot of these players' natural inclinations are coming out. So I am going to say, I'm going to put it out there. EDG, when they go to playoffs, they're gonna randomly start learning all these lessons again. Like, they'll all, like, the tank top laner, you know, it's like Haru's gonna be going wild on his Lee Sin. It's like, oh my goodness, if you had done that in the beginning, you probably wouldn't be at such a low seeding. But then they'll find themselves, I won't say finals, but I think that the biggest surprise, and I'm like probably a bet that I'm gonna be upset that I'm gonna be making, is that they'll beat. My gut's telling me that they will beat, like, a team like TOP. God. Oh. I know.
Holy shit. I didn't realize you were this big a fan.
Like, I'm angry. I'm not a fan. I'm upset.
You're just hoping that all the rookies and all the, like, less experienced players just collapse, presumably.
It's, for me saying that, I feel like I taste shit. That's like, I feel bad. But it always comes down to the fact that, like, I think this team, like, the reason why they have world-class players in AD carry and mid lane, and they're just making the most basic mistakes I have ever seen. Yeah. But they always make these mistakes. And so I still think they'll miss out Worlds. Like, that was supposed to happen 2018. But JD had to play 1 million matches in a row because of, like, the playoffs gauntlet, all that nonsense. But I think that they will take down TOP simply because of the experience factor, how to play out later games, and I think the patch will start to move towards more supportive picks. So that'll help clear level a little bit. I think Haru also plays out the slower picks a little better as well. So I just think as a squad, they'll play team fights, and I think that will be the biggest matchup.
Right, Teddy. Come on, you got to talk some sense into Raz. He's going crazy. He thinks that EDG's going to beat top and they're going to be a playoff team. Come on, give me your thoughts.
One way about Raz, maybe one way about Raz is right, because EDG was just like they have done this every year because think about it, everyone. They never missed Worlds. They never missed Worlds. That's really insane because every year, especially the spring, we think EDG won't make into playoff.
Yes.
Yeah, and every year, when the end of this year, you're looking back, wow, they're still in the Worlds.
Yeah,
so
what's going on?
EDG was just like, what should I say? I think EDG, this team, was like a military. They have really, they have a really strict discipline, no matter in the game or not in the game. Because every season, no matter if there's a player change or not, EDG play the same playstyle all the time. Since they build up, they play this like control the map and try to snowball all the time. They play this playstyle all the time. But in this year, I felt EDG's players are not focused enough in the game.
Yeah.
Just like Raz said, they have some really they have some mistake that we don't think it should be made by pro players, like getting killed during the lane phase, like getting double kill in bottom lane. That shouldn't happen in my solo queue when I play mid laner.
Okay.
Yeah, if I was playing solo queue, if I was playing mid lane and my bottom lane got double kill during the lane phase again and again, I might be crazier, you know. And the other thing is, I think, you know, this is the first season of Hart joining to EDG.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Hart is a coach that have his own BP style. We can remember during Hart was in RNG, he has his own style for BP. He likes to make some really, I mean, he likes to choose the right side, right? Hart really likes to choose the right side. And he was really like to choose the champion that can play a lot of line. Like Hart was really like Urgot and Rise, and they pick Urgot at first pick, and he won't tell you if this Urgot are going to mid or going to top laner. That's Hart's style, but it's not compete to EDG right now. The player and the coach, they are not in the same channel.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a problem. And other thing is, I think iBoy and Miko struggle a lot during the lane phase. That shouldn't be happen during the lane phase. So I think they need to be more focused into the game, and they will always get back because they are EDG.
Okay.
No matter how, they will always get back. We won't worry about getting into playoff because they will always get into playoff. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Right, before we move on a bit, I wanted to just get your thoughts. Even though this team didn't play in the last week, since you're just here for this episode, Teddy, I want to get your thoughts. Last year, RNG, Royal Never Give Up, best team maybe ever from China. They looked amazing. They were so dominant when they had the real lineup with Uzi in the lineup. This year, the big change, obviously, is top laner. Now they've brought in Amazing J, himself, someone who used to come from the LMS. We don't have Let Me anymore. What do you think the impact will be on RNG? Like, will they still be as good a team? What are your thoughts on this new top laner?
There's one thing about RNG that is really special against other teams. There's one thing that only RNG have is they have Uzi, right?
Yes.
They have Uzi. And I have heard some rumor about Uzi will coming back after the Chinese New Year.
Yes.
Yes, and when you have Uzi, you need to change your playstyle because, you know, everyone knows you need to give a lot of resource to Uzi and let Uzi carry the team.
Yes.
And at that time, your bot laner, your bot lane will be your strong lane, and your top lane will be your weak lane because Uzi is in bottom lane.
Yes.
And that is the time that we need to check out if Amazing J is good at being a weak lane. Because if we look back to AJ's playstyle, he was always the carrier in his team, no matter in Bilibili Gaming or iMay, right? Yeah. Amazing J is always the carrier of that team. but now they got Uzi, and Amazing J need to sacrifice some resource for himself. So I think that's the change Amazing J should make. And if Amazing J can get used to it, RNG will still be a really good team.
In Uzi we trust. That's what he needs to understand. Listen, Amazing J, it ain't about you, homie. See this poppy down here? Actually, that's why it's a good thing that they nickname, like, from raising the poppy, they nicknamed Uzi that. Because if you think about it, a poppy, they just hassle you all the time for food. They're all just begging for food. That's what he's like with resources. He's like, just give me all the gold. All of it. I need all the gold. More gold.
Yep.
Throw more gold.
Yeah. You know him. You know him. Go on.
Amazing J is good at tank champion, so I don't think we need doubt about it. I can still remember Amazing J's tank champion select, and it's really good.
Yeah,
so I think he'll get used to it.
Yeah, the thing about him is I actually have all the faith in Amazing J, just because when he was on IMA, oh god, energy pacemakers, IMA, turns into Billy. It felt like he literally did everything. It was because he didn't have a good enough bottom lane, didn't have a good enough mid lane. Athena had his moments, but it was always just based off the meta. And it was like legitimately, I am the carry because I'm on Jarvan and Camille. I am the engage because I'm on Jarvan and Camille. I am the tank because I'm like, he was doing so much for the team, because if it wasn't for him, they would lose. I think he is going to realize how easy it is now being able to just give away all of that role and just sit up topside and just play the usual tanks, like Ornn when he gets playable, and just simply like, the usual. So I'm not concerned for him. He can play weak side, I think.
Yeah. And because of Amazing J, Bilibili Gaming and IMA have a lot of turnover game. They comes back a lot because of Amazing J.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of Amazing J are doing everything. So he will be fine in RNG, and especially when Uzi come back, if he can get into the role quickly, RNG will still be a really strong team.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, what about this then? I thought a good way, rather than just talk about all the other teams in the league, we talked about some of the main ones that have been in action. What I wanted to do towards the end of this episode was ask more about some specific players and get some of your insights, Teddy, as to what you think of these players. So the first question is this. If today, I know it's only a few weeks into the season, but if today someone said, right, we're going to vote for the MVP of the LPL, who would be the MVP at the moment? Like, who's been the best player so far for you?
From the beginning of season until today, right?
Yeah.
From the beginning of the spring split until today.
Yes.
I will vote to...
You better not steal mine. Oh, you stole it! God damn you, Teddy!
Come on!
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. I say Doomby too, actually.
I will vote to Doomby.
Oh, okay. You know what? I'm gonna challenge myself. I'm gonna try and find something else.
Why Doomby then? I mean, we've got Rookie, we've got Knight, we've got all these amazing players.
First, the most important thing is FunPlus never lost a game. FunPlus didn't lost a single best of 3.
Yeah.
And second one is, this is all because Doomby joined to FunPlus, right?
Sure.
Yeah, this is all because of Doomby joined to FunPlus this year. And Doomby played really good on the Rift this year. And he is the commander of the team. And he is really full with energy all the time.
Yes.
So I will give my vote to Doomby.
Okay, pretty good reasons.
All right, pressure's on. I'm gonna.
Who's the alternate pick, Raz?
Oh no! All right. I don't want to say. Literally, I'm gonna say Gimgoon, which is so.
Which is the top laner of FunPlus.
Yeah, so everyone's just gone completely all in on FunPlus apparently. So the two MVP candidates.
Oh no! All right.
Well, here's the thing. At least you could make the argument in as much as they've only played a few weeks, right? I mean, we're going off a limited sample size, sure.
So alternatively, other than Gimgoon, I'm actually just gonna go Sword Art, because I think Sword Art, the fact that he was like able to, him and SMLZ, I thought they were gonna have a poor laning phase because they're not known for lanes. or at least specifically SMLZ. He's not known for his laning phase. Had a rough time on Rogue Warriors just because he had to deal with, new synergy, Killua, and he actually is really, plays out laning phase fairly slowly. Sora came out really strong for the team, and just being able to handle Wei Wei and Angel, he's not completely fresh, but still a step down from Maple. I think so far we've seen Sword Art step up to the challenge and have like clear leadership on the team. So you don't oftentimes get to see a support come up on that one, but I'd give it to Sword Art. And then, of course, Gimgoon, because Gimgoon just goes wild. Like, Gimgoon's team fighting so far has actually been excellent on the Urgot and the Kali. And a lot of that does have to do with Doombi. But you know why that's Doombi's my number one answer. So there we go.
Okay. Right, here's a one, Teddy. Like, this question might, and I don't know if this will translate very well, but I'll ask anyway. Like, who do you think is the most underrated player in the LPL? Like, who's the player where he's secretly really good, but, we wouldn't know if we're just plebs.
I understand.
Who would you pick?
Let me think. I will give my vote to Southwind.
To who? Wink.
Southwind, the support of VG Gaming.
Right.
Yep.
Southwind.
Okay. Southwind,
Yeah,
I understand. Okay.
Southwind, yeah, his ID is Southwind. He's a supporter for VG Gaming. And I think a lot of Western audience didn't watch VG's game because VG is not being
very
a good team.
Sure.
Yeah, they're not really good starting from last year. But one thing you should know is they are trying to rebuild this season. And the 5 players of VG now are the first season of their own LPL season. Right. There are five rookies in VG's roster.
Yeah.
Now, and Southwind is the supporter of VG, and VG win a lot of good team one game in best of 3, and finally they got winning best of 3 last week, just before the Chinese New Year against SDG, which is new team 2 in LPL.
Yes.
And during this month, Southwind is a really good playmaker. His Raccoon, his Thresh is really, really good. And the most thing that Southwind shocked me is he is a really good team fighter. When he play the support champion with CC, he can always get the position of opposition's carrier. His Thresh can always hook you during the team fight.
Okay. And
that's really important if you are playing a sport with CC.
Sure.
So I will give my vote to Southwind. And there's one thing similar with LWX and Crisp is he played with his AD carrier Puff a very long time. They play together in LDL and they play together in VG now.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so I will give my vote to Southwind, the supporter of VG.
I'm actually so happy he's playing.
Who are you going to pick?
Oh no, okay.
Am I stealing yours again? No way.
No, you didn't steal mine. You didn't steal.
That was a good pick. That was a hipster pick.
It was a very good pick. Yeah. It's a very good pick. I didn't come. I'm surprised I didn't come to that same conclusion because I thought he was super good. I'll go Gala. I'll go Gala from Xeno Dragons. Just because I was not very high on him coming into the season. Because for SDG, Xeno Dragons, I thought that the team was going to primarily be played through Tuila, Xiaopeng, and Changhong.
Yep.
And I know that their compositions a lot of times do favor Gala, but I was like, nah, this is an AD carry focused league. There are way too many amazing ADs for him to really shine. And I still thought it would be like Chagu Reapers when they had Alone. But that wasn't the case at all. In fact, I thought that Gala actually played out these team fights really well. So I guess that even I have to recognize that he's really improved. And not even just that, he's not having any nerves. So Xeno is just doing well because he's playing well too. Okay.
Right, Teddy, at the end of this episode, do you have a final message you want to give to people who've watched?
Okay. First, I want to apologize for my poor English because I haven't spoken English for a really long time.
You did a great job, mate. Don't worry.
No, because I haven't spoken English for a really, really long time. Since I get back to China and I never speak oral English. So I want to apologize with my poor accent and with my poor English. And I want thanks to Thorin and Raz to give me the opportunity to talk to the Western audience. And I just want to tell you guys that LPL is really good, and there's a lot of good player in LPL. Not only the player that's going to world stage, then there's still a lot of good players in LPL. So please watch us.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So
yes.
please watch us, and happy Chinese New Year, and wish you all the best in next year. Yeah, because it's Spring Festival during China now, and it's a really, really old tradition of China. So I wish all the best of everyone who hear this show. And
Indeed.
thanks, Thorin. Thanks, Raz. Yeah.
We'll end on that note. Happy Chinese New Year, everyone.
Happy Chinese New Year's.